All right, we are live, coming at you with some Bitcoin and altcoin analysis, and this is April 29th, midnight Eastern Standard Time, wherever you are in the world. I want to take a look at starting with Bitcoin, doing just a real quick look at some of the things that have happened today. I know a couple things have been a little surprising. I know we were all sort of expecting a big rejection and a big movement down, but it seems like we're staying right above our cloud here. So I'm looking at the 1 day chart on Bitstamp, and I'll kind of drill down a little bit and we'll kind of take a look at some of the interesting things that happened today. But just a couple things that I just want to point out. A couple weeks ago, there was a lot of talk about the death cross and how it's going to cause this big, massive crash and panic selling, and we can see when that happened. I have a couple different moving averages here, but we can definitely see when we crossed. It was back here around the 23rd of March, where we were kind of moving through some downward activity, and generally speaking, Bitcoin was moving downward for a long time, and we saw a lot of the altcoins recover in the process as Bitcoin was still moving down. But then, of course, we all remember that 1 day when Bitcoin went from 6,000 up to $8,200, and we can see that it got rejected right at this point on our continuing downtrend line. And then eventually it did make it through. We had a day of just very neutral trading, but as soon as we were able to move sideways through this down channel, we've been basically moving up ever since. And we seem to be in sort of a time period where we're really not making a whole lot of activity. We're sort of staying inside of this area. I need to turn off my magnet here. We've been really sideways. We've had some massive swings going from about $8,700 to 97, almost $9,800. But really, all in all, just been a lot of up and down moving sideways. But as we can see, if we look here, both of these charts are the same. I just have a couple different indicators that I'm looking at across both of the charts. You can see we've tried to penetrate into the cloud and move downward, but it's really basically been rejected ever since. And today, so far, we're just a couple hours into our 1 day chart on UTC time. We're still moving upwards. So how far up are we going to go? It's really hard to tell. I know there's a lot of shorts that are opening on a lot of the leverage trading exchanges. So that's kind of a good gauge, a good indicator that that's potential for a little bit of a reversal and some profit taking. So just again, got a few different indicators. I've got my moving averages here. Of course, this red line here, this is my 200-day moving average, and this darker red line is my 100-day moving average, and you can see that they're really close. If there's a point where the yellow and the green moving averages, which are my 25 and my 50-day moving averages, if they're able to cross through the 200-day and the 100-day moving averages, that's a good sign that we're going to see a major reversal in the market, and we could potentially see us moving back upwards to to 10, maybe 12,000. But as this is moving closer, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens to the price of Bitcoin, because essentially what some of the trading bots, things that do automated trading based on moving averages, when we see these indicators get closer to each other, sometimes that can trigger a sell, and that could potentially cause a little bit of a drop in value. I'm not saying we're going to go down, $2,000-$3,000. We're not saying that we're going to go down to $5,000 or anything like that. But we do want to keep an eye on all of these different indicators that we have available to us. A lot of things that I'll say is, look at the momentum, look at the oscillators, look at the overall consensus as to how people feel Bitcoin is acting. And a lot of times I'll also say, and I've said it in the past, the trend is your friend. If Bitcoin is moving up, you either stay in that position or, feel free to play the swings if you'd like. It's a little trickier because, we really haven't had major movement. But As long as that trend is moving up, that is one of the only times where I'll say that the hold mentality is a good mentality to have, because if the price is going down and you're moving in a downward trend, that trend is not your friend, and you must remove your position and work on your accumulation. So play nice with the trend and work from there. Let's see here. So that's my take on Bitcoin. I've got a fellow trader I'm going to be switching over for his analysis on Bitcoin as well. So we'll have a couple different points of view. So not every time we're going to agree with each other. So I'll give my view and you can give yours, and we'll see where we're going from here.
Yep. So we're mostly in agreement. The overall trend is still bullish, and it's continuing to look like it's going to be bullish. So this is one example of where the bullish trend is not, it has definitely not changed, and it might be in the process of changing, but we'll see here in a second. So the first thing that we're seeing here is a simple uptrend trend line, right? That hasn't been breached. So I was looking for a breach somewhere here, and I was not expecting this candle, so I'm ignoring it for now. But once this trend line is breached, we can assume that there is a massive correction somewhere towards the 8,000 region. But as of right now, I don't see it happening because it's looking really tough. We've failed to break this trend line twice, and 3 touches of a trend line is an established support. So it's going to last for a while. So that's one thing. The second thing is a simple fib play. This is called the OTE play, where the region between the 0.618 and 786 is referred to a place where you can have an ideal short entry for a correction to the downside. Now, this correction could last for a very few hours. It's not supposed to be something that's going to last for a while. Mostly what you see is a support established somewhere around the 0.5 region for a continuation upwards. So what you'll see is something like this. But while this would play very nicely with the trend line, I don't see it happening as of right now. We've failed to retrace several times here. The way I see, there are 2 possibilities on higher time frames. The one possibility is that we break the local high. So these are simple resistances that are going on. The pink resistances are from weekly lines. The red ones are from daily ones. And the white ones that you see are just local resistances. So the first resistance here is 9,800-ish. And the second one is around 99. But once these are breached, we are looking at 10,242. So 10,000 is not a resistance. It's not going to pause there. So if you're looking for a long play, you should have already bought in here because this was like a good fib play from the move down. But towards the upside, there's still a lot of room. And this is reflected on the daily chart. So I've been talking about this for a while. A lot of people have been talking about it. And the first thing you'll see here is that the cloud has moved down a little bit. And this resistance here is going to be massive still because it's been rejected twice, and the third rejection will probably set up for the bear market, if at all. The obvious reverse of that is the Adam and Eve you can see on the daily chart, right? But that could take like a while to play out. So I've shared this before, but anywhere between 45 days to 60 days is the time period for the second part of the Eve to play out. So one second. We're looking at somewhere in this region. That puts us somewhere in the late week of May for a full move upwards, right? But overall, as it goes from the cloud, we've seen that the Kijun resistance has been broken. Now, just for a quick briefer, we've had 2 rejections of the Kijun already, right? And those are very significant because they caused pretty much every rejection all the way from January. Breaking it is very significant, and breaking into the cloud is even better because this sets us up for an end-to-end trade. So anybody that's looking to enter a long should wait for either a move up by the Kijun or a retest of the Kijun for a move upwards. So that's supported basically by what I'm trying to say here on the 4 and 6 hour charts, that we're overdue a significant pullback, right? But on the daily chart, if you'll see it here, there's a very significant bullish divergence on the stock RSI. So by all means, this could keep going up, right? So, I mean, ideally, this would be a place where you would hedge, just keep a small short open, have a stop loss somewhere around this high, and if it breaks, it breaks. right? But if you're looking at a correction, it'll probably make its way down to around 8900 ish first, and for a further move downwards, you'll probably have to make a head and shoulders number. So as of right now, the way I see it, this could be a small shoulder here. So let me just quickly mark this, and a head here for a shoulder later on, something like this going on in the future. But that's not likely as of right now because the trend line is still holding. So once that breaks, we'll see what happens. But I'm purely in support here because I think this is a no trade zone, especially during the weekend. You shouldn't be trading Bitcoin at all. And something like this is either bound to liquidate you or stop you out. Like this candle right here, if I see on the 5 minute chart, there was absolutely no room for error. You would have been liquidated 100% if you were on Bitfinex. On BitMEX, there wasn't much liquidity. There was not a lack of liquidity. So the price didn't move at all. Like it moved like about $200. And this $700 swing was not relevant there. So that's about it on Bitcoin. There's nothing much to be said here, except for this resistance right here, which I'm looking at 11,800, 600 region is going to be very significant resistance. That's about it for me.
All right. Yeah, I agree. The 11,800 is a pretty key point. I think what you were saying about the 10,000, I think that's more of a psychological point of resistance. But yeah, I agree that that these indicators are telling us that it's not going to be a major point of resistance. So I'm going to flip over to Litecoin a little bit. As we all work together over the next the next weeks and months to come, I think what a lot of you will realize is I'm a big fan of Litecoin. It's made me a lot of money in the past, so I do tend to favor it just a little bit. So with that, what I'll do is I'll kind of show you again based on moving averages, based on the cloud that we have here, looking at the 1 day chart here on Bitfinex. So we all know that that Litecoin was basically the top performer in the month of February when Bitcoin did its major crash to 6K. Litecoin was able to go from basically a low on the second of 0.013 all the way up to like 0.025 or 0.0249. It was pretty high up there. It looks like it just touched 0.025. And I've said this before. So, but if we have any new listeners today, what I'll usually always say is, if there is a coin that does a major breakout and has just a massive run, back here in December, where we were down here 0.005, and we went all the way up to 0.02. This happened to be where I picked up a lot of Litecoin, and it just did a massive run up. And when it does that, it's almost inevitable. It's going to be a slow, measured downtrend until it breaks that resistance. So we can definitely see that there is a downtrend after a run, and then we had another run, right? And then we've had a downtrend ever since, and we have not broken through that downtrend yet. So a lot of things to look at. Of course, we have to look and see when we're actually able to move past our moving averages. And again, I'm still looking at the 1 day chart here, and we can see we've basically been right here around this 200-day moving average for several days now. And I do expect at some point here in the near future that Litecoin is going to see a little bit of a breakout. We had a rejection here on our 25-day moving average. We had a rejection on the 200-day moving average. So we are basically trading right in between these two lines, very similar again to Bitcoin. Bitcoin seems to be sort of moving sideways a little bit, and that seems to be the same trend that I'm seeing here, at least for the last 5 or 6 days or so. So basically, what I'm looking for when I'm making any sort of a position, not trading with leverage or anything like that, just basically trading purely based on the value of the coin, I'm going to be looking for a breakout either on the upside or on the downside. So if I do happen to see this break down below 0.0159, 0.016, somewhere in that line, that's going to be basically a position where I would want to get out of. I'd want to short it or something along those lines. And then if I'm going to be going long, you're going to be looking for a breakout. You're going to want it to break out of this downtrend, which we have been, again, we've been in this for a long, long time. We've seen a lot of swoops where it goes down and it kind of comes up trying to form a cup, but this was not a cup and handle. Of course, we saw it just get completely rejected and move ourselves all the way down here to our 25-day moving average. So basically, this not too much to talk about here. We've just got basically a continuing downtrend. So unless I see some action, I'm not going to be doing any moves here. Basically, a Litecoin for me is a no trade coin at the moment. Although I have been playing some swings on the USD value based on, of course, the price of Bitcoin. When it comes to trading based on the BTC trading pair, just really kind of staying away from that for the time being. Let's see here. Hitesh, do you have any comments or thoughts on Litecoin? Different perspective?
Yeah, I do. So there's like very very simple facts here. From history, it will tell you a lot of things. Um, on the previous retrace, if you see I mean, are you on my screen right now?
Yes.
All right. So previously, Litecoin has had a significant retrace down to the 0.88 zone. Now, this is supposed to be where all hope is lost. This is an area where you buy something that is completely lost to people, right? So this is a make or break play where if you're supposed to buy something, it's supposed to be in this region. Anything above is also fine because long term that still works out. But this is the absolute bottom. This will be true on most coins. I've seen this work out. 0.88 is something I've not seen people use. That's completely fine. I've seen it used mostly on Bitcoin because Bitcoin tends to retrace to the 0.88 to stop out people. And this looks exactly like that. Litecoin has had a history where it's stopping out people significantly out of shorts and longs. This has been like a common theme, if you can see it, across the chart, right? As of right now, what I'm expecting is the same thing. A retrace, a very significant retrace down to any of these fibs, primarily the 0.618. So I think Litecoin has still a long way to go. I say this on the basis of that bearish divergence on the daily chart. There's one right here, and it hasn't played out completely. I think there's some ways to go as far as that's concerned. And I think the cloud is supporting here. I have a very different setting compared to yours. I just noticed.
Yes.
You have the non-double setting, right? I have the double settings.
Correct.
So as of right now, I see it breaking down from the cloud. As you can see, the 0.5 is also the cloud bottom. It may bounce there. As of right now, this also looks like the formation of an inverse head and shoulders. That's invalidated if there is any new close below this line. And if it does cross the local high, you're looking at a long play potentially, and that would complete the inverse head and shoulders too. So in the worst case, what you're expecting is a breakdown and potentially a buy at either this region and or much lower, right? At which point you'd be looking at a full bear market in Litecoin for like the next 8 months, probably more, which has happened in the past. It's not a new thing for Litecoin, right? But locally, I think this might be a good buy play. If you're looking for a premature long, you have it right here. You have it right in front of you if you want to take it. I will personally wait for a breakout. I usually do that because I don't trade within the cloud. That's probably a bad idea. I either trade when the asset is entering the cloud rather than in the middle of it. So that's my perspective. There's a potential inverse head and shoulders. There's a bearish divergence. There could be a move down, but that's invalidated if Litecoin is about to break above this resistance, which is 0.0178. A breakout from there is pretty clear. Could be a reversal.
No, that's good. No, I definitely appreciate all the yeah, no, this is great. Yeah, and I do. Yeah, we do have a different configuration setting on our cloud. So this, it's just it just shows that just a couple different configuration pieces can show just a completely different view.
Definitely.
Okay, let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and pop over to Ripple, and Ripple's had a good couple days here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to change my interval. I'm going to go down to a shorter time interval. I'm going to move down to the 1 hour, and kind of take a look and see where this is going. So essentially, I'm going to turn off my moving averages here to clean things up just a little bit. What I was looking at just the other day is taking a look and seeing where where Ripple was going. Of course, there's more than just the technical aspect of this. There's also the fundamental pieces as well. I know Ripple has some news and things that are coming out, and that of course does play into the price quite a bit. It's happened with Cardano here recently as well, which we'll talk about here in just a little bit. But what I was seeing is on this chart here for Ripple, we saw a rejection up here at about 10,200, and it went down quite a bit. It went down to about 8,900, and we've been basically playing waves ever since then, moving mostly sideways. But you can see that. Our highs have stayed pretty consistent, where our lows were slowly creeping upward. And so this triangle pattern usually indicates that there's going to be a little bit of a breakout eventually, where we continue testing the resistance, and eventually bears give up and remove their sell orders from the order books and allow the coin to continue to move through. So I do think that even though Ripple did get rejected here on Binance it was 96.11. On Bittrex I think it was like 96.30 or something along those lines. I had my sell at 9600 and it worked out pretty well. But I'm going to wait and see how far down this goes. Ripple has sort of a history for being a little unpredictable as far as when things do move upward and you see a retrace. Sometimes a retrace is just a little bit. Sometimes a retrace is quite a bit. So this does have a little bit of a potential to move down and potentially go down back to about the 9,000 mark. So I'm not going to be looking to reopen my Ripple position anytime soon, at least until I can see that we do have some more positive momentum. And as I look at my oscillator here, again, I'm on the 1 hour chart, but you can definitely see that there was some upward movement as far as the momentum goes. And right now we're kind of moving downwards. And on my money flow indicator that I'm looking at down here as well, you can see that there's a potential reversal where things might be turning around and may potentially be moving upward again. So I'm just going to kind of keep an eye on things, look at my oscillator, and take a look at the money flow, which is basically a weighted RSI based on volume. So just a couple different things to look at here from a momentum perspective, and also you've got the RSI to look at as well. Let's see here. Yes, of course, Hitesh. Of course, you've got a different looking cloud on your chart, and yours I think looks a little better than mine. Yours looks like we're definitely moving upward.
Yeah, so I think Ripple's a good buy. And this goes against everything I've said about Ripple. Like in the past, since January, it's basically fallen however much percent, about 90% or 80%, somewhere in that region. Ripple is definitely not a cryptocurrency. I want to make this clear. But if you're looking for a buy simply from a technical standpoint, ignoring everything else, we've had a retest of the Kijun. That's a bullish signal. We've continued up from it. That's also bullish. We're having a stock RSI, bullish divergence, and the daily is significantly oversold. So if you're looking for an entry on Ripple, it's right in front of you. A confirmed breakout is above this resistance because this has played a simple role of just acting as resistance in the past right here, support in the past. So I think this breakout could be significant, and the cloud top is all the way. That's easily, I think, if you were to play this as of right now, like immediate entry, your stop should be somewhere in this region. Your exit is right here. So that's easily a 3.77 to 1 play. So I don't mind this. This is definitely a good entry. Do I hold any Ripple? No. Do I intend to purchase it? I don't think so. Unless there's something compelling or the lower time frames like an inverse head and shoulders or something that I just can't ignore, which I don't see right now. As of right now, you can just wait for a retrace on the early chart and then buy it. There was significant buying momentum here, and the buying volume is already increasing. So I think from a technical point of view, this is fine. But from a fundamental point of view, I think I'll leave it to the people to decide. It's completely their choice. It's like entering Bitcoin because it has an inverse head and shoulders. It's completely your call. But as far as I see it, it's a good buy, technical standpoint.
Yeah, it's very good, very good. So, yeah, no, I was really happy when my sell order went through at 9,600, and now I'm just looking to see if I'm able to catch it at a really low price before it does go up. Yeah, it'd be really nice to see it get through that 10,500 mark and make its way up to 12 or 14,000 over the next couple weeks. So that'll be a really really interesting view. So let's see here, Cardano. Let's talk just a little bit about Cardano here. Basically, Cardano has really just done fabulous over the last few days here. Basically, since Cardano was able to break the resistance that it had. Cardano's that one that just kind of went parabolic. Back at the very beginning of January, went up over a dollar. It was like $1.30, something like that. It was basically the equivalent of Ripple hitting $3. But basically, Cardano kind of moving downward and then eventually moving sideways a bit. We had the same chart view that many coins had, and this looks very similar to what Tron looked like. It looks very similar to what Verge looked like when Verge went from 2,000 all the way down to 350. We've got Cardano going from 8,000, 9,000 all the way down to we hit bare bottom here at 1661. Right now we're at 3886, which is more than double where Cardano was down here at the very bottom. So if you were kind of betting that Cardano wasn't going to go below this point, and you did happen to open up a position, basically at this point you've really doubled that money, which is fantastic. But if you are waiting patiently, like I know you all do, you're waiting for a change in momentum, a change in the our buying volume. We're looking for spikes in buying volume that shows that the price is moving up. And right now, Cardano is that one that is moving upward. I would imagine that when Hitesh brings up his chart, his cloud is going to look a little different than mine. Chances are it's either getting close to or has already entered the cloud. And yeah, so this is going to be really interesting to watch. I would say that right now we're really touching, if we're looking at basically the movement down to the bottom from our top point here, which is at about 7,200. We're basically being rejected at 38.2 at the moment. If we're able to get through that and we're able to actually see some movement through and pushing through this, a lot of people are asking, is it okay to buy Cardano right now? Well, this candle formation right here, and this is on the 1-day chart, this isn't a really happy candle. If this gets any flatter, we could be looking at a potential shooting star, which is usually indicates that the price is going to go down on the next day. And we can see a very similar formation here, although this isn't a textbook shooting star, because shooting stars are typically at the top of a run. But this is the formation that we do not want to see on this particular candle for today. And of course, on the 1-day chart based on UTC time, so we're just a couple hours in. So there is plenty of time for this candle to change. The body could completely fill. But if we are able to close above the 38.2, I would be looking for the 50%, at about 4,500 for our next major point of resistance. But if we do get rejected here at the 38.2, we could potentially come about halfway back here to about 3,500 before we're able to recharge and see another push back up. And it is also potential we could be moving sideways a little bit for a day or two. Could be good for some swings if you've got bots and things where you do some automated trading. This could be a potential for the next couple days if we do happen to move sideways a little bit. But as far as a re-entry goes, if you are a risky trader and you do believe that Cardano is going to be making some moves before the news that comes out before they introduce their staking, I mean they've got a lot of really great things going on for them. I know Hosk has a lot of big ideas for Cardano, so potential that this is just a good place to buy if you're looking to hold it for the next several months to a year. It's really a new coin, so we've really just gotten to the point where we do have some of these longer moving averages where we can actually look at, but with Cardano only being introduced in, I want to say September, October last year, not a lot of history to look at like there is with some of the others, like Litecoin that we were just looking at a little bit ago. But right now, things are definitely looking upward. I don't see it slowing down. I do, of course, see potential for a retrace. There's definitely retrace, which would give you a good potential for a good buy-in. If we do happen to pop all the way back down to 3,100, we're basically sort of invalidating any kind of impulse waves that might be introduced here. But I think a nice retrace back to 3,500 to 3,600, isn't a bad thing. And I think that gives us some opportunity for accumulation and for a push up to that 42, 4,400. And then we'll kind of go from there. But I think that's still several days away. What do you think, Hitesh?
There's as of right now, there's a bearish divergence on the early chart. It's very cute. It's right here in front of everybody. It's pretty much a sell signal. If you have any Cardano, it's probably time to sell. Um, I think I'm alone on this chart. One second, some things happen. Let's see. Can you hear me? Hello? Can anybody hear me? Okay.
Oh, Hitesh, are you there? Are you back?
I am back. I think our call disconnected for a second there.
Yeah, I do believe it did. Oh, that's really interesting. Okay, I'm going to reshare my screen. I think you're still showing yours. That's
Yep.
strange. I've never had that happen before. So yeah, I think you're back on. So let's go ahead and move forward.
Yep. So yeah, there's a bearish divergence on the the hourly time frame. But now the thing is that members already bought the call, and I'm sorry if I didn't share this before. I think I did on day traders, and there's a small screenshot of me actually buying ADA. At the time, my target was still 10%. It already hit target, so this was like a screenshot of then. Just search it in the chat, you'll find it. But as of right now, I don't have a retrace target primarily because of the bearish divergence. I would expect it to make a new low below this area. I wouldn't recommend buying ADA this high as of right now. I would recommend waiting for a full pullback, like Crypto Enforcer said, down to the 3,500 region, maybe even 34. From the view of things, that could still happen. There's a possibility of a head and shoulders here, but I wouldn't trade this immediately. I would wait for at least the right shoulder to show up before we actually make some moves. But I've already entered and exited ARA. I don't think I buy and hold Cardano a lot. I just swing traded. In this case, it was a simple entry right here on 27th. It was a 10% move, so I already had 10% sell set. I didn't have any other targets in mind. So I've already flipped it. There's no real view to be had here. That's about it from my side.
All right, excellent. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and let's see here. Look at Qdom. Let me flip back over to my screen over here. So this one in particular, let me move at the 1-day chart here. So I pulled up the MACD here, and we're still showing that there's still some positive momentum. We don't have a cross where we see the one of these indicators moving below, so we don't see that we're actually going to be moving downward anytime soon. We have seen a couple rejections here at the 23.6. It's happening on the 1-day chart here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, basically 5 days of the last week where we've basically been sitting right here at the 23.6, and we got rejected almost textbook here at the 38.2. So I think we have a potential where we're going to be attempting to go back up. And if I'm looking at the momentum, I do see that we're potentially moving upward, but you can see also that this is currently a little indecisive. We're seeing where it's kind of flipping from positive to negative momentum. So as the day goes by, we'll see what this looks like. If we move down to a shorter time frame and we just kind of take a look here over the last 20, 30 hours, we do have some good movement upward. We do see that upward trend, and potentially we've got. Let's see here. Let me see if I can do this real quick. From a trend line perspective, we're just kind of moving upward in this channel. So if I were to pull out my pitchfork and take a look at it from this standpoint, let's see here. We'll start here. There we go. All right, so this will give us a good median, which is basically where we're at right now. So we're sitting right here, and you can see this candle is turning from green to red over and over. We did see a major rejection here, and this is similar to that shooting star pattern that I was referencing just a little bit ago, where we saw a shooting star at the top of an upward movement, and we basically moving downward ever since. So there's a good chance that QDM is going to be retracing back down to potentially 2300. If it falls through this line, then we're looking at us moving down down to about 2250 to 2300. So right now for me, the QDM had potential for profit taking up in this mark between 2400 2420, somewhere in that mark, and this is an area where I wouldn't be entering a position until we reach a movement down here where we're seeing some positive movement. But right now we can see that our indicators on the MACD are getting closer to a reversal, and right now the indicators are pretty high, which is usually a good sense that things are going to be sort of turning around just a little bit. So right now, if you miss the opportunity to take profits on QDM, you're sitting here at 2336 at the moment on Binance. You could have an opportunity to just continue to hold. But I think that this does have some potential to move down just a little bit, even though we do have a little bit of local support here at this particular mark here at about the 2300 mark. So if I do see it fall through the 2300 mark, it's most definitely going to be going probably down to the I'm going to say the 2270, somewhere along those lines. If it falls through this line, if it happens to fall through this uptrend line, and it happens to fall through 2260 and move down below this, definitely it's going to be an opportunity for you to sell if you want to accumulate, and maybe pick it back up here at about 2200. That's where where my cloud is showing a potential support. So that's sort of where I'm looking at QDM right now. I think it was a sell about 4 hours ago, and right now it's it's risky to sell if you want to continue to hold. If you're looking to accumulate, I think that was the time to sell, to do that. So I think that we had a good opportunity to sell about 10 hours ago here at about the 2350 mark. If you waited from 2350 and waited about 4 or 5 hours for it to get down to about 2275, 2300, that would have been a good accumulation. Ride the train up and sell at about 2400. Don't get greedy, right? Obviously, nobody's going to time it perfectly, and chances are pretty good that there was just a really quick sell a quick buy that took that all the way up to the 2420 mark. So right now we have another retrace where it's a good opportunity for you to take some profits and accumulate. So for what it is, yeah, I don't see QDM at the moment as an entry, but maybe Hitesh has a different opinion.
Actually, I don't. In this case, I would still wait for a full pullback somewhere down to this region I have here. I think this is a pretty good, like a good place for an entry. But I don't think it'll get there because of the bull market scenario. So I think the maximum retrace it will have to will be around 0.05, which is 0.0022. Um, that fib I think is going to be a good entry. I don't think anything else is relevant here, except for a bearish divergence that I see on the hourly chart. But that's about it. There's nothing else to be said about QTM. In fact, I am in QTM. Just a disclaimer: I have QTM, which I bought somewhere around this region. It's just for a swing high, so I'm expecting a small bump here, and then that's about it. Then we're gonna head to the 0.5 retrace for a good rebuy.
Excellent. Okay, let's see here. Well, I think I did have somebody that asked about Syndicator, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull up that chart. I'm just gonna do just a real quick look at it here. So on Syndicator, basically what I'm seeing here is I'm seeing, of course, the good old upward trend where we're seeing basically a higher lows. But as far as the um, on the top part of this, we do see some wicks that do extend out a little bit higher than this. So right now, if you're looking to take a position in Syndicator, this for me is a wait. I would wait to make an entry because when you have basically a major drop, right? And then we're only on the 1 hour chart too, so this isn't long term. This is short term. When you see the drop like this, and then you see this upward, um, this upward wedge that is giving you your higher highs and your higher lows. There's a good potential that this just can completely fall through. And if you are in Syndicator and you do happen to see it fall down below this rising trend line that we have here on the bottom part of this wedge, that's a good indicator that you need to get out, and you need to probably get it as quick as you can, because if it does happen to fall through this, and I guess I should also say you're looking for a candle closure, right? Because as I was mentioning, you do have these wicks that do happen to flash out of here, but the bodies of the candles are within this rising wedge. If you have a candle closure under this, then you definitely need to reconsider your position and potentially look for maybe even a full pullback down to maybe even all the way down to 1,000 or close to it. So it would be a good opportunity for accumulation. I talk about accumulation a lot because that's a game that I've been playing on a lot of things that I've been in. And funny story, I'm not actually even really talking about most of the things that I'm in except for Litecoin, but there are a couple coins that I do that I love accumulating. And it works really well. And so if you're able to find something really predictable where it just sort of moves sideways for a long time, and you're able to play those waves, then more power to you. But this one right here, we have been seeing this rising wedge, and eventually it's either going to break out or it's going to break down. And most of the time, when you have a rising wedge after a descend, it's going to do a rising wedge and it's going to fail it again, and it's going to move back down. So you just need to be very careful with Syndicator if it's something you're looking into. If you do not have a position in Syndicator, you're going to be looking for a breakout. As we say with many of the other coins, you're looking for a confirmed breakout one way or another. That's basically going to tell you whether you need to buy or you need to sell. So that's my opinion on Syndicator. I do see that we're on a 1 hour squeeze that is basically just we have about 12 minutes left here, so this may get invalidated. But for the 1 hour chart, this is more of a short term swing trading. We do have a squeeze, and it is moving in the right direction. So I'm going to keep an eye on this potentially and see how that goes. But we can see that we have seen some failures on the squeeze indicator, a few hours back. So right now we're sort of seeing this, kind of developing, and we'll see if it lasts. And just out of curiosity, I'm going to look at the day chart and see what our momentum looks like there. Yeah, so interesting. You can see we were actually in a squeeze for quite some time on syndicator, starting all the way back on March 22nd, and it was in a squeeze all the way for almost an entire um, yeah, 3 weeks we're looking at here approximately all the way until the 14th. So this entire time period, you can see actually I sometimes I do some little drawings here as I'm looking at things on the chart. Um, we were moving sideways for quite a while, and we've started moving upwards ever so slightly. So we're sort of kind of keeping an eye on where things are going. But if we do happen to break out of this downward wedge, we could go down to again maybe 1100, but somewhere between 1100 and even 1000. So sort of be kind of taking a look at that and see, watch the um, you want to watch that rising wedge and see what happens with it. And of course, you're looking for a clear indication that we are breaking out of that wedge. So if you see a big green candle that pops out of it and it happens to close on the 1 hour chart, don't look for a candle closure on your 5 minute or your 15-minute charts, but you're looking for a candle closure on a 1 hour chart on this type of a formation, because it's been going on for a few days now, right? So we're looking for a good solid closure outside of this rising wedge. Let's see here, Hitesh. What are your thoughts? Oh, you want to move to Neo?
Yeah, I think I'll skip on this one. Basically, just talk about a few other alts. I don't really have an opinion on this one since I don't know anything about it.
Yep, you got it.
Right. So now we're moving to Neo, and I mean, I've been accumulating in this region. Previously, I was able to catch this bottom, which I sold for like a 20% profit at some point. But as of right now, what I'm looking at on the 6 hour chart is a potential bearish divergence forming. It's not formed yet. There's no candle close to confirm it. Hasn't been a cross on the stock RSI yet. But it's going to form both on the RSI and the stock RSI. So that's going to be a significant thing, right? So what I'm expecting is probably a rejection somewhere in this area, a candle close followed by a red candle to the downside. A little bit in that region. This is a very rough figure. I should probably go to the early and draw a more, you know what, let's do that. Let's go to the early. Let's draw a new resistance there. So there's one right here. Yeah, that's about it. So where it already got rejected, that's probably a place where there'll probably be a retest, and then we'll see a 12-hour bearish, 6-hour bearish divergence forming. What that'll do is it'll send the price down into the accumulation zone, which is right here. So I expect a very significant resistance here. Now, the natural question to ask is why I'm bearish on an altcoin in this case. Because some of the fundamentals demand it, not all of them. From a normal standpoint, this is a simple retrace. It's nothing more, right? On the daily time frame, this won't even show. But this has happened before. Right here, I've pointed this fractal out several times in the past, where there is some consolidation at the top. I wouldn't call this consolidation by any means, but I'm referring to this part before it and this part after. So I've seen this happen several times on Neo, right? And this is kind of out of the place right here. But I think for the most part, this region right here is going to turn out to be a bearish fractal that takes the price down with it. So if you're holding Neo, I would probably, if you're in profit, just put a stop loss in like 5% profit and ride it out. If you're not in Neo, you're looking for a buy, I think that green zone is a good buy around 73 to 75. I've been looking at it for the past few days. And this kind of confirms that we're going to go down there. But this bearish divergence, once it's confirmed, will definitely take the price down. The point is when it's going to occur. If there is a significant breakout, I don't think I'll be looking for that region anymore. I'll be painting a new consolidation zone, which I'll eventually buy. But as of this point, if this area breaks out, there is any 6-hour candle close above this region, you're looking for a complete breakout and then a move to 0.01 in the near future. So that's my take on Neo. What about you?
That sounds good. Yeah, I also, similar to you with Syndicator, I don't have a huge opinion of Neo. I think that I've got a lot of friends that that do love it. I think it was doing really well. Back when the market was doing well, way over $100 per coin on Neo, and I want to say it's hovering at well, what is it now? It's somewhere between 50,
70s,
yeah,
low
70s now.
70s.
Yeah, so yeah, and I think that Neo is a potential good long hold if you can get it at a good price point, and if you're looking from a historical perspective, I think the sentiment is if it's been there before, it'll get there again. For decent coins that have a solid backing, and I think Neo is one of those. I think it does have a potential to move upward, but again, it also goes back to how long are you looking to hold, right? So um, if you're looking to do quick flips, I think this is not one that you would want to get into at the time being. You probably do want to wait for a retracement. If you're looking at the indicators, you definitely see that there's a potential where it could do a reversal very soon, which could be a good spot for you to do some flipping down at the 0.08 mark. But yeah, in the meantime, I think that it's still pretty low. But if it is able to break out, then yeah, moving from basically from 0.09 all the way up to 0.011, that'd be really fantastic, fantastic profits there. I'm going to talk a little bit about Storm. I had a request to take a look at Storm, and I do see a couple different movements here. And if I take a look at my version of the cloud, we see that we were able to get through it here. I'm on the 1 hour chart. We had a little bit of a squeeze here, but we have not just a flag happening. What we actually see is right in the middle of this flag, um, we see sort of like an upward movement happening here. We're getting to this point right now. This is that point where where we can actually see a little bit of of a breakout. So if we're able to close a candle above the 735, 740 mark, and this is able to continue moving upward, then I do think that we have kind of come out of this flag. But if we do continue to get rejected here, we could potentially see us moving back down to the 690, 700 mark. Not huge violent swings, right? So we're at 728 right now. To move down to 700, we're not talking about just a ton of money, of course, unless you have a million storm coins. So we could see a potential movement down if we do happen to get completely rejected here. I'm on the 1 hour chart, which we've got about 4 minutes left. So we'll see over the next few hours and where things go. Yeah, I do think that with this potential downtrend mixed with this newfound uptrend inside of our flag, we have just a little ways to go before we get to this apex. And but if we fall through, we could quickly find some support down here at the 680 to 700 mark. So I wouldn't panic quite yet if you're holding Storm. If you're looking to make an entry again, like I say with a lot of things, you're going to look for a clear breakout and movement above the 730, 740 mark before I would make an entry. So that's what I've got here. I think Storm, this is the one that just didn't have a whole lot of history because it hasn't been around for a while. Of course, this did its typical dump when it entered the Binance exchange, and it had a good pump that went from all the way down here at 200 and some, all the way up to almost 1,000, right? And so we've basically been doing a good cup here. I don't know if this formation is worthy of saying that it's a handle, but since there's not a whole lot of history to look at, it's really hard to tell exactly where it's going to go. I do think that there has been, some decent volume, right? So when we had this major movement here, and this is on March 23rd, when we moved from an open of 287 to a high of 935. There's a lot of volume there. Basically, hasn't been a whole lot of volume, but you can see that little by little it's picking up. So we saw, movement up, and we're starting to move down just a little bit, consolidation. So we're looking for that breakout, right? So we're looking for a breakout above, a breakout above 750, 760 for a buy, in my opinion. And then if you're holding, hopefully you've been holding for a long time, back when it was able to get down to the bottom and start to move its way upward. But if we do see it fall through this 700 mark, really probably aren't going to find support until approximately 600. Basically, what I'm basing that off of is just some very small amounts of history that we have here. So we can see in this particular area right here, we have support where we have had previously. So that's going to be, 594, 600. That's going to be my area of support if we do fall through. If we happen to fall through if we happen to fall through the 594, again, with very limited history, it's hard to really gauge where it's going to go. But you can definitely see there is going to be another area of support that's going to be right here. And that's going to be at about 485. We saw support here on March 27th. We saw support again at 331, which failed. We saw resistance here on the 18th, and it stayed there for a couple days. So that was a decent amount of resistance that we saw right there at the 486 to 500 mark. So those are our two support lines that I see. Of course, if you're looking for doomsday scenario, you're looking for that next area of support being all the way down at probably about the 400 mark. That's going to be about your next support area. If it falls through there, basically you should have sold a long time ago. So hopefully it doesn't get there, but if it does, you're really looking for, if you're really curious, probably the 300 mark before you see support. But I think at that point, based on this candle that we have here, if we do happen to get all the way down to 300, you're just going to see some massive, massive buying that occurs. So for me, since I'm not in Storm, it'd be really fantastic for me to see it go all the way down to 300, because that'd be a great opportunity to get something that, again, was previously up higher. So if we see it move down and get all the way down to that point, that'd be a good buy. But the momentum is just, kind of through the roof right now. But it's hard to tell, again, because we really only have data from Binance all the way back to March 12th of 2018. So not a lot of history there. But it's doing fairly well right now, and not really sure where it can go or will go. But based on the pump that it got when it first launched on the market, we do have some potential to get back up to the 900 mark. But I don't really have any facts to back that up. Is there a different coin that you'd like to look at, Hitesh?
Yeah, I'm actually looking at ICX. This is I'm gonna quickly chart this one. I kind of need to go. So I'll be looking at ICX really quickly because it was just a recent request. And that's about it for me for the stream. So I think I'll leave it to you to continue after that. As of right now, ICX is looking for a very significant pullback, and that's for two reasons. So on the hourly time frame, there was a bearish divergence that's already played out. I repeat, it has already played out. So it doesn't factor a role in here. It is what created this pullback. But from just looking at the previous few days, I've been saying this, that the Kijun has bounced the price significantly, except for this one support right here. So I think there might be something bigger at play, which is causing such a big pullback. And now what convinces me is that the Tenkan is starting to move downward. The cloud is flat, the Kijun is flat, and the Tenkan is, as of right now, it's flat, but it's lower than what it was before. This is a T-clamp setup where you're looking for a significant pullback down to the Kumo region, right? And this, I think, it's a fairly large move. Normally, in this case, I would look for a small pullback upwards and then short it. So as of right now, I'm looking for at least a 7%, about 7.5% drop on ICX. Longer term, I think it's going to have a larger pullback. I'm not sure as to how the bull market of the alts will play into this and whether it's still a bull market, because I'm looking at a lot of alts and it's looking like they're taking profit. People are taking profit on their alts. So larger term, I think ICX has gone up significantly. It's a good performer, but I don't think I'd be happy with buying the top, right? I would rather wait for a pullback. I'd wait for these regions. And if you zoom out just a little bit, you'll see how far up it's gone. The first ICX buy call I had was right here. This is on my trading view. So it's from that alone, it's gone around. What's that? That's at least 50%. So I mean, if you're holding ICX at this point, it's probably a good idea to sell. If your entry somewhere here, I have bad news for you. I think you should stop yourself out because buying the top is never a good idea. But if you're holding, if you're looking to buy the dip, this is pretty good region because it would create some consolidation in this area, start to make a handle, and then continue on its way up, right? And that's definitely possible. But as of right now, ICX is short-term bearish, long-term still bullish. That's about it.
Okay. All right, all right. That sounds good. Well, thanks, Hitesh, for joining me this evening. It's been good. It's been good doing this with somebody else. But I think I'm also going to go ahead and call it a night as well. I'll be doing this a few times a week, so feel free to shoot me a message on the Discord and let me know if there's anything you want me to take a look at. But just a final disclaimer before we close this out. Again, this is not financial advice. We're really just here for educational and for entertainment purposes only. You're in charge of your money and your positions, and what you do with that is really is really your call. We're here to just sort of explain the charts and explain the indicators. And a lot of times people will say that the only reason that charts work is because we believe they will, and there is a lot of truth to that. So again, we're here for the education, and an educated market is a good one. We're still sort of in that early adopter phase on the Bitcoin market. I know it's been around for a few years, but with the way that the alts worked last year, I think that this year is going to be good. But yeah, definitely. Just be careful and trade wise, and don't panic, and and wait for clear, confirmed breakouts before you enter any risky positions. So, hope you all have a good night or a good day wherever you are in the world, and we'll catch you on the next video.